my
know
God.
what the hell happened. But anyways, hi. How's it
Hi.
going?
Good.
I I'm happy that you have brought a guest to the chaos table.
Yeah.
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 So that's exciting. So we'll talk about that in a minute, but
Yeah.
we're waiting for Lloyd. He's going to join us. I'm not sure if
Oh,
Angela's going to
cool.
join us.
All right.
I have some fun chaos to share with you, and I know you have
Okay.
something to share too. So, the tooth fairy came. So I have older kids, but one of mine is still young enough to like have,
Oh,
to the tooth fairy come.
yeah.
Well, I thought you would find this hilarious. She doesn't do cash anymore. She's Venmo, strictly
Very, very modern.
hip,
Very modern. Yeah,
hip,
very hip,
hip
very trendy.
with the times. Real like, in with the
Oh,
kids.
I can't hear you anymore.
What? You can't?
I don't know why. I
What?
I heard you and then
No more?
nothing. There. There. You're back.
Am I back?
Yes.
I had to test my mic again. Okay. So I'm back.
Okay.
Yes?
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yes.
So that was one piece of chaos. And then I thought you would also appreciate this, from like mom to mom, wife to wife, right? So that was a little bit of kid chaos. The tooth fairy showed up. But my husband went to the grocery store. So I've been ordering groceries because I am now working full time and it's been difficult to like get out the door and I'm being lazy basically. Like I'm giving myself some grace because I feel like there's too much new stuff. So I've been ordering
But
groceries.
as a mom, can you really be lazy? I mean, we
No,
got
no,
no,
we never sit down,
no.
really. No, not until we
Go.
go to bed. So,
Go
like,
ahead.
I'm giving myself some grace. I'm like, I'm working full
Yes.
time. I don't feel like going to the grocery store. I have other things to do. I want to jump in. I want to do some voiceover auditions before I start my job for the day. I
Yeah.
start at like 11 in the morning. So I have time to get the kids and the husband out the door, walk the dogs, do my workout, like that stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to go to the grocery store. But he decided he wanted to pick up a few things. So I said, if you're going to get me some blueberries. Please.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
we're going into blueberry season here.
Yeah.
I said, but you got to do the squish test. And he's like, what? And I'm like, the squish test. I'm like, I don't like mushy blueberries, so please make sure they're firm. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
just like setting boundaries. I'm like telling him my needs, and I'm not being like annoying or anything. And he goes, okay. So he goes and he brings me back blueberries. And I said, did you do the squish test? And he's like, no, I shook them around. They sounded okay. I was like, oh my God. So then I was like, these are not up to standard, not. And he goes, fine, I'm going to the store again. So he went to the store. This is funny. This is like typical, right? And he brought home the same brand of blueberries. I said, did you do the squish test? And he said, no. And I'm like,
Isn't
what?
that why you returned?
Went in the
Yeah.
second store. So I'm like crying at this point because I'm like not like mad, like laughing because I'm like, this
Yeah.
is just so freaking ridiculous. Like this is just so
But
ridiculous.
what was he embarrassed? He was
And
embarrassed.
no, he was
Really?
mad at me.
He
Like
was mad?
he was mad. I'm like, you did this to yourself. I didn't do
Yeah.
this to you. So, anyways, I realized that like we all have fruit issues. Like seriously, we all have fruit issues. Somebody's picky about something. Like we
Hmm.
all have them. Me, it's
Yeah.
like blueberries. And
Right.
um and he has issues with bananas. Like he has to eat them green. He will if they get even a little bit yellow, like a tiny bit yellow, he's like, ugh, I can't eat them. Like not super green, but like mostly green. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
we all have fruit issues. So like don't give me a hard time about that, but I thought that was funny.
Wait, no. I wanted to go back for a second.
Yeah.
So your son, does he have an app for like receiving the Venmo?
Yes, he's got Venmo.
What? Oh, wow. Yeah.
hmm
Very, very, very cool.
Well, I mean, I don't know if he's old enough to have Venmo, but maybe we like flubbed it. But like, he's the third. He's
I
the
think
third
it's
kid.
fine. I think it's fine. I mean, it's a good way to teach him about like saving
Money.
up and money and everything. It's, yeah.
Yeah. And transferring it. He has a bank account, he has a
Yeah.
checking account, and he earns money. So he knows how to, he knows about
Handle it.
money.
And
Yeah, because he
yeah,
books,
there are a lot of adults that still don't know how to wire transfer money.
yeah, and he earns money because he books voiceovers. So and he's also
Yeah.
done an on-camera gig with me. So he just got paid. So he's really happy. And then he's learning to like save his money, and then he wants to use a little bit of his money on like the video
Very
games or
cool.
like and yeah. So he's doing well. But he's the third kid. Like,
Yeah,
like the
no,
first
I was
kid.
just making sure that Tooth Fairy knew that, you gotta make sure the kid has a Venmo. Otherwise,
Yeah, Venmo the mom. You can Venmo
yeah.
right to me.
Right?
I mean, I'll take a percentage. I'm teasing. I'm teasing. All of my kids' money goes right straight to them. They go right to
Yeah,
their
of
bank
course.
account. Yeah, so it was funny. Yeah. So, anyways, that's a good question. Okay, so I didn't tell you this before because I know we got it. You need to tell me your chaos.
Okay.
Yes. And
I know which
oh
one.
my God. Okay,
Ah!
we'll remember later. Tell me your chaos before Amy gets here.
Okay, so yesterday I had, besides today I was up at 6:30
Yeah.
because I had to take my son to foot therapy and then tennis and then run back to the house because the plumber electrician was waiting for me and then I had a dentist appointment for my son, so I had to go take him and then come back, make sure he was fed before I jumped on. But besides that chaos, and then I jumped on an hour early. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm late." Here, like finish eating. And I run up. I'm like, I haven't received the email. Oh no, I'm gonna be late. I'm gonna be late. And you're like, you're like an hour early. I'm like, oh.
I was like, that's very prompt. You're very
But besides that, yesterday I had a recording, and usually the recordings that I have don't last more than, I don't know, like 10 minutes,
Oh, that's
with the
pretty. Or
exception
30 minutes. Yeah.
of the one big um commercial that I had yesterday. I mean, yesterday, the last year with
Mm-hmm.
John Mickey.
Yeah.
That one lasted more, but that's what we were counting on. Had already talked about it. We were like, it's gonna take an hour. I was already in that headspace. But yesterday it was new. So like six people on the screen. They're all from different places, like Central America and Latin America, and some are from Mexico. This commercial isn't Spanish. And they're all telling me different things with different accents and different pronunciations. And we're
Oh
like
boy.
making changes on the spot because we can't use the same terminology in Mexico that we can use in Colombia and stuff like
Right. It's like regional, right? Or it's
yeah,
like, yeah, like regional accents in the United States. Yes.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so they were all like, but can you do it like this and emphasize this and then do this? And, and I was like, yeah. And then on top of that, I want to add. And I was like, okay.
Oh my God. But you made it through.
Oh my God, I made it through, but it did take 2 hours.
Oh my
And so,
God.
like, by an hour, 40 minutes, I was drenched in sweat,
I'm sure.
drenched in sweat. And I was like, oh my God, I must suck because
Oh.
apparently they're not getting what they want, right? They're
Right,
not getting
right.
what they want to hear. And I was like, oh, this is horrible. What am I even doing here? And like all this self-doubt began. And then I was like, no,
Yeah.
focus, focus. They're here. You can't have any doubt in your voice
Mm-hmm.
because then you'll have to do another hour and I'm just done. Like I'm done. Like I don't want to
Right?
do this like I don't want to continue because of this, like because of my doubt.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, so let's keep on pushing, just stretch it out, shake it out. And I've never been pushed that far. Like my
No.
voice has never been like pushed and like no, it was like working out. I felt like I ran 5 miles, but I was completely dead and was like, when you never thought that you could pull something off and then you pulled it off and you're so tired you can't even celebrate it. You're just like, okay, cool. We
Yeah.
did it.
Yes.
Awesome. That's how I felt.
Oh my God.
But coming out of the booth, I told my husband, I'm like, oh my God, I think this is horrible. I don't
Right.
think they got what they needed. I don't know what I'm going to tell the client. Yeah,
Yeah.
just doubting myself. And he's like, no, I don't think it was that bad. I was like, I don't know. I've never been through this. Hi, Lloyd.
Hi-oh.
But then that's when I received the email that they loved it and that they wanted to work with me again. I was like, cool.
So you went from like survival mode to like thrival, like you were thriving,
But
right?
I was on so much survival mode that my thriving mode didn't kick in until like afterwards, like hours after. Hi,
Hi,
Amy.
Amy.
Hello. Oh
Oh,
my gosh, I'm so happy to be here with everybody. This is
Oh,
fun.
thank
well,
you.
we're
Yeah.
so happy that you're here with us, and we're
Well, thank you for
happy.
having me.
Yeah,
We are super
absolutely.
excited. Oh my God. Okay.
This is gonna be fun.
Yeah. Gabby was sharing with us like how she was in the booth for almost 2 hours and like was drenching in sweat and like six people on the screen. You can
Mhm.
share, like you
Everyone
could
telling
recap
me like
it.
what to do and not really agreeing with each other,
Oh yeah,
on the
yeah.
direction, and so they tell you left, but at the same time right,
Uh-huh.
and they also want a circle, but can it be a triangle, you know?
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, we want a circle, a perfect circle, but also can it be like a square with rounded edges, or maybe
Yeah.
triangle? And then the other person, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do it 3D. And you're like, I've
Yeah.
done that. I know exactly what you mean. Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
that doubt monster that like creeps in too, because then you start to think, like you were saying, you just doubt yourself after a while, and then you're kind of
Yeah.
like you walk out of there, and that's why I was like, you need to go for a walk, like you need to like expel all that energy of like all those people.
Oh,
Yeah,
after
because
it,
yeah.
during, you know what's really awesome? Breathing. I've just gotten to a point
Oh,
like, and then just focus, right?
Yeah.
I've been in those situations, but yeah, breathing helps a lot.
yeah,
Oh my God,
I
yeah.
know. And it's amazing how much you forget to breathe. Like
Oh yeah,
literally, like breathe. Like you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you
yeah,
just forget. Like on a
yeah.
regular, yeah, when you're in the booth. Well, Amy, we're so happy that you're here,
Oh,
and
yes.
we're happy that you're part of our like Meet Your Actor series. It's kind of one
Thank
of
you.
our little signatures, and we love to like meet other voice actors and actors that we connect with. And
Sure.
I'm gonna hand over to Gabby because Gabby she was so excited to bring you on, and I'm happy that she was able to do that. We're
Oh
able to
yeah, I
connect.
know. And
Yeah, I'm so honored that you're here.
Gabriella,
Um,
by the way, wait, can you say Gabby? Yeah, I call
yeah,
you Gabby,
Gabby,
right?
Gabriella.
Heard your episode, and you're in Mérida,
Yes.
Yes.
Yucatan.
Yes.
I'm from Quintana Roo, the state next to it. That's
No.
where
Oh
I'm
my
from, born and
God.
raised there. Little town called Chetumal. We'll get into that just in a minute. But I'm like, oh, she knows exactly where we're like,
I
that
know
part of the world.
exactly where you are.
And that's why you're
Yeah,
sweating, because it's
that
hot.
that is why I'm sweat. There is so much humidity and the air is not on. So,
Yeah. No, but
Anyway,
I,
yeah.
but yes, I am so excited to have you on. Yes, I'm Gabby, Jocelyn, and we also have Lloyd joining us today. Angela couldn't. I don't know if
no,
she's gonna make it.
no,
No,
I don't
she's
think
not gonna
so.
make it. Um, but I know she would love to be here with you as well. So I'm very excited to introduce you. So if anyone didn't know, Amy is an amazing bilingual voice actress who was just awarded in 2024 for best female, sorry,
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
commercial?
Yeah, it was so we'll get into it, but yeah, last year was the One Voice Awards that got the best radio commercial for in Spanish. It was
Yeah.
because it's the first time One Voice Awards had the Spanish thing going on. So we were able
Um,
to put it our stuff, right? Submit our stuff. But then it was cool because I also do English, so I got nominated in English as well, but I didn't win, but it was cool.
but
Yeah.
you were nominated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So,
was fun. Thank you.
but before we get into all the present stuff that you're doing, and we want to get into
Yeah,
your origin story.
of
So can you
course.
Okay.
take us back a
Of
little?
course
Yeah.
I can. Yes. So, as I was telling Gabby, I'm born and raised from a small, teeny tiny little town that's in the border with Mexico, with the border with Belize. That's where I'm from. If you
Oh.
Google it up, it's called Chetumal. Okay? So it's the capital of the state of Cancun. Everybody knows Cancun. Everybody goes to Cozumel, everybody goes
Yeah.
vacationing there. But I'm from the town that's like 4 hours and a half in the middle of the jungle. And when I say middle of the jungle, is literally middle of the jungle. We got flying cockroaches and we got a whole bunch of bugs. It's like humidity 100% all year long. Anyway, um, so my mom is from Belize and she married a Mexican, and then I was born in the Mexican territory. But every Easter holiday, I used to spend my time in Belize. And Belize is a British colony. And that's why I speak English, because I was thrown into that situation. So if I wanted to play with my cousins, I had to speak English because there was no choice.
Yeah.
So,
That's
um,
so interesting.
I went to a Catholic school. I always wanted to do stuff with the arts. But again, being from a small little town, my mom said, Mija, you're gonna starve. So don't do that. As a treat. I'm like, so I had to bury down my dreams, right? And I love to be like on stage and I used to like just do all that stuff. But I felt that it was like unreachable. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did everything like again, brought up with my parents, a little more traditional. You gotta study, you gotta finish your degree, you gotta go to college. So I was like an A student all my life. Like I was in the band, I played basketball, I was in the honor student and thing and everything, and I got not a bachelor, a scholarship.
Oh yeah.
Una beca. I got a scholarship to go to Monterrey. So I studied in el Tech de Monterrey, and I moved at 18 there. And I have a bachelor in industrial design and product design. Has
Makes
nothing to
Wow.
do
sense.
with
You girl
voiceover.
me.
Yes. So I love to build stuff. I'm the handy woman in my house. Uh, but anyway, I went there. I loved it. And I self-taught myself graphic design. And I was like into the arts and go to the museums. I love all of that. Um, and then it came time to be responsible and be an adult, right? An independent responsible adult. So I was 22, I graduated, and I'm like, okay, now what am I gonna do? I need to get some money. So it was 2009 when I graduated, and that was some people remember that's the H1N1 pandemic
Oh
that happened in Mexico.
yeah.
The
Kind of
swine
like
flu.
COVID. It was like little COVID, right?
That was like
Yeah.
So
baby COVID.
it was baby COVID by the
Yeah.
time, and it was 2009. There was a recession in the
Yeah.
world,
Oh yeah.
and in Monterrey, it's like the industrial capital of Mexico. So there was a lot of companies, the manufacturing companies where I was hoping to get employed, that they actually stopped producing. They were stopped hiring people. I couldn't get a
Oh.
job. And my mom is like, Mija, again, my mom, Mija, you got to come back home because we're not going to, like, you need to either pay rent, get a job, but you have to come back home. That's the other side of Mexico, right? I'm like, Mom, please. So I cried. I left my stuff, with some friends. I said, I'm gonna come back. And I never did. So I will go back home. I get depressed. It was terrible. And when I go back home, I'm like, you know what? I had a crisis. Like, what am I gonna do? I had two life crises. That was the first one. I was 23. I'm like, what am I gonna do? It's this little town. There's no industrial manufacturing, nothing, right? Or like, what can I? Anyway, I need a job,
Yeah.
and I got employed by it. Let me go back. When I was studying college, I also had a chance to work into entertainment. I did. There was in Monterrey. There was a little bit of the how could you call it? Scene of doing special effects and like the whole 3D
Oh yeah.
animation thing
Oh
was
yeah.
starting to
Yeah, yeah.
happen. Okay, so in that time, I was working at a studio and I was a matte paint artist. I never, like, it was just something I fell into because I needed to do, hours to graduate.
Yeah.
And I always loved to paint and color. And first I went in like an intern and then they hired me to do the matte
Oh,
paints, like, of the special effects backgrounds for a movie that came out
very
years
cool.
ago.
Wow.
Yeah, but I'm like, oh, done. I'm never going to do this again. Boo boo. So I go back home depressed, and I find that there's the guy that he was recruiting people to create a studio that he wanted to do. So it was this guy that he was a developer and he wanted to do a theme park in Tulum, right? So that whole area is he wanted to get more of the Latin American tourists to go to Tulum instead of going to Miami or going all the way to the United States. He wanted to do a theme park. Very ambitious. And I'm like, okay, if he can pay me, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It's okay. I can
Yeah.
do this job for 1 year, 2 years of my life. I could do this, right? So I get hired by him. We do a trailer. And then he's like, okay, I want to try to do, create some characters, do a movie trademark the characters and then do the theme park from these characters. I'm like, okay, he crazy, but let's do it. If he's paying, let's do it. But okay, so he comes in and hires a whole bunch of Argentinians. Where my husband is now. I found my husband there. So he comes down all the way from Argentina with 10 other people, and we start working into this movie. And we write the script, we do the
That's cool.
storyboard, we do the scratch voices. And by the way, he's the one that got me into voiceover because I had no idea what voiceover was in the time.
Wow.
So we're doing this movie. We're in the studio. We get the equipment. We start working in this. Originally, it was going to be 14 months. It ended up being 3 years. And
Wow. Okay.
we were able to do the
Long
whole
time.
visual development and pre-production of this movie. We even got to the point of casting the people. Like we were getting into it, and then he ran out of money.
Oh
I
no.
know that
Oh.
happens a lot.
It
It happens a
Yeah.
does.
lot.
It
Yeah.
It
It's
does.
happens a
common.
Yeah.
It's
lot.
common.
So, to the point is when I was doing let me go with a little snippet of a story. When we were getting into doing scratch voices, so I'm just going to quickly explain for the audience. When you're doing scratch voices in animation, first you write the script, you do the animatic, but you need to time the scenes, right? As
Yeah.
we know, like
Yeah.
you could do, hey, that's like 2 seconds and a half, or hey.
Yeah.
So depending on the acting, the scene's going to be a certain length, right? So we have to
Right.
make sure, because animation is expensive, that it fits between the 80 or 90 minutes that the whole movie's going to be. So we needed someone to do scratch voices. And then the animation director at the time, my current husband, we weren't dating that time. We were working together. He comes
Oh,
to me and says, Amy, we need a budget to do scratch voices. I'm like, we don't have a budget for that. So I'm going to do the scratch voices. I mean, I wasn't a voice actor, nothing. I had no idea. I'm like, I'm going to do it because we don't have a budget for that. So I'm going to work with that. So he's like, okay, fine. So then I go in and I'm doing these voices for this for the first time ever, getting a wing at it. And he's like, oh my gosh, you should do this. I'm like, do what? Do voice acting. I'm like, what is that? How do you
yeah.
spell it? And then he goes in like, yeah, I mean, when you're doing a movie, a lot part of the budget goes to the actors. I'm like, oh, really? Let me write that down maybe for note to self.
Sign me
That
up.
was that was 2011 when that happened.
Wow.
Um, then we ran out of money, as I said. We never were able to do the movie.
Right.
And then he, again, coming all the way from Argentina, we were in Mexico, and he was like, we're so close to the United States. Why don't we just try to see if we could make it in the United States? I'm like, that has been my dream all my life, but I always saw it like so far away to be able to migrate to the United States to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, let's figure it out and let's see if we have a shot. So we did. We
Very
got
cool.
married 2013. We found a lawyer. One of my best friends let me crash her house. I mean, I had no kids at the time. I married in 2013, and next year I was like, I sold everything I had. We packed up 3 bags and we flew to Minnesota because my friend married a Minnesota, and she's like, just crash my house, get here 2 weeks, you get started, you get a
Wow.
place, and then she introduced me to her lawyer and we started the process.
Wow.
So
Wow.
1 year after that, we got our green cards. We applied for an O1 visa, and then we applied for the green card. So we were legal. We got everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, this worked. But then we were like, oh, but we're in Minnesota.
Yeah.
We were in the middle of nowhere, Minnesota. So what are we gonna
Yeah.
do? Um, so we're like, okay, let's see. At the time, let me know. Just pause for a minute. When I moved to a new country, I had to literally learn everything because,
Yeah.
like, the way I had a
The
social security, but
culture.
nothing there. And then I had like I didn't understand the credit score. I had no credit score
Right.
because I'm from
Yeah.
zero. Like I'm like, okay, we gotta start like to get a car. It's like we don't have bad. We don't have a credit score. So we have to like learn all this stuff to do and how to, build credit, how the investment world is in the United States is totally different from a different country, everything, et cetera, et cetera.
To be fair,
Um,
most of us don't know how to do any of that anyways, and we're terrible
I
and
love
we have debt.
I know.
Just you're
But
probably way better at that.
well, we had to like it was a crash course, like, and then I'm like the same way. I had my degree in industrial design with this whole background in graphic design because I freelanced as a graphic designer, and I
Right.
had this animation thing that I worked for 3 years, and then I'm like I had a hosh posh of a curriculum. I'm like, how am I
Yeah.
going to make this marketable at the most? So I got into project management. I got certified as a project manager, and then I did Six Sigma, and then I did Agile Scrum Master. I did this whole certification because I didn't want to get into debt to get into another. I already had a degree. I just needed to rebrand it, right?
Right.
So I got into working into corporate America. I was working at United Healthcare in Minnesota,
Wow.
and those people were like. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna work with them. They have a large company. Once I'm like 6 months in, I'm gonna ask for them to relocate me to Los Angeles and let's see if that works. That was my plan. So I did that. I was there. I was like super responsible. I did everything I had to do. And when I was 6 months in, I went to my boss and said, I kind of like say it, I prophesied, and I said,
Yeah.
my husband has a job opportunity in animation in Los Angeles. And I wanted to see if it was possible, if maybe
Yeah.
we could relocate. Oh, of course. Let me see. Let me talk to my boss and let me see what we could do. She goes in and in the afternoon she says, "Yeah, okay, so you got approved to be like a telecommuter." This was before COVID, right?
Wow.
2016.
Wow.
You're approved as a telecommuter, but you have to be there like in 20 days. I'm
Oh
like,
my
okay,
God.
Oh.
fine. So I got home. I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
Nico, let's go. So we road tripped. We packed all our stuff, our apartment. We road tripped for 5 days from Minnesota. We drove down to LA. We found a place. We got our stuff. And I was like, okay, we're here. And we got it. So that was 2016. I was
Wow.
already telecommuting. I was already working as a telecommuter doing that. And but then I got 2017. I always again Nico comes. We're in LA.
Yeah.
Why don't you give it a shot at doing the voice acting thing? I'm like, you crazy. Because he works in animation, so it's like a
Right.
project thing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, but let me have the stable job and you go on your thing going project to project and then we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
So I put it down for a while. And then I got pregnant and I had my son 2018 and I got to be honest, I got scared. Like during
Mm.
that vulnerable time starting something from scratch, I'm like, ah. But I always had that little bug that said, what if
Yeah.
you
Mm.
never do
Do
it?
it. Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
it. I had that little
Do
bug,
it.
right? So I had my son 2018. I He was 1 year old. And Nico came back again because he saw that I was miserable. Because I was like frustrated a little bit. I was working this telecommuter job. I didn't have I was isolated. I didn't have
Yeah.
coworkers. I worked with them every time, but it through Zoom.
Yeah.
And they were in Minnesota, so I was doing Central Time. So I had to wake up at 7 a.m. to do the 9 a.m. thing. And I
Wow.
was with my son, but still I couldn't be with him because I had to do meetings back to back. It was like hard. And I
Mm-hmm.
was miserable and I was like I felt like I wasn't doing a purpose, like I felt sad. And he started to note that, so he said, "You should really try the voice acting thing again." I'm like, "But we have a son." I'm like, "But it doesn't matter. You should try." So he bought me a voice acting course like as a surprise birthday gift, and I went. And I fell in love with it the moment I was
Mm-hmm.
behind the mic. I got the acting bug, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was that little girl from back in Chetumal, Mexico saying, "Hey, it's not too late. Why don't you try it and just give it a whack at it?"
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
and I did. So, you know when you start voice acting and you take those first classes, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
but can I do this? Like you
Mm-hmm.
love it,
Mhm.
but then that question comes is like, can I do this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
do I have what it takes? Do I have the resilient skin, thick skin to be able to get a bunch of no's and you know,
Lots of no's. Yeah.
a lot of
Lots of
no's,
no's.
lots of no's,
Boundaries.
yeah. And
Lots
I'm
of
like,
rejection. Lots of
yes. And
rejection.
I'm like, I doubt it for a minute, but then I said again, the question in me saying, Amy, what happens if you turn to be 50 and you end up telling your son that you always wanted to be a voice actor, you actually never did it? How that story will go. That won't go look so good.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? If I don't try, I can't teach my son to do that.
Right.
So I might as well just give it a shot. So I did. Again, I said, okay, 2019 is going to be my year, and COVID hit.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Well, we did it, but I mean, I got into,
Yeah.
I was part, I mean, I know it's not good to say it, but I was some of the talent that got into voiceover around 2019 when we were hit with COVID, that I had already some training. I went to on camera acting. Here it's called the acting corps. The acting corps here in LA. I went there. I was 3 months of intensive like acting. But it wasn't voice acting. It was they taught me Meisner, and it was like I need a scene partner, but in voice acting we talk to ourselves. How do I do this?
Right.
So I started coaching and working and developing my skill. And I always saw it like a business. So I came in at it as, okay, I'm going to do direct marketing. I didn't know how to handle the agent thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to go with my foot first. So I started marketing myself in Mexico. I started, asking around who would do it. I was kind of scared to sell myself into the United States at the beginning, but I started abroad first. So I made contacts with people in Argentina, people in Mexico, people in Colombia, and et cetera, et cetera. And then I'm like, okay, I got some credits. Let me see what happens when I translate. And I started direct marketing myself here in the United States. And then I started doing that. And then being bilingual helped me so much because I was that Latina that could be English and then use Spanish. So in the United States, I book in Spanish, and the rest of the world, I book in English.
Oh,
So
interesting. Yeah.
it was good. It worked out.
Yeah.
And then I started building my business. I saved up from the project management work, and I said, I got to do this in 4 months. And I quit my job. I went full time October 2019. I remembered the day, and I never looked back since. And that's kind of like
Wow.
the story in a nutshell. I hope I
I love it. I
Yeah.
love all
I
of
love
it.
all of it.
It's
All of
so
it.
relatable too. There's so many
Yeah.
pieces that are so relatable that I think anybody like could interject and say that was, that happened to me too, or but at the same time it's so unique because you're a bilingual, actress and you had to start in a new country, fresh, figure
Mhm.
it out. It's
Yeah.
As
so
a new
it's
mom.
as a new mom,
Yeah.
new wife.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
And so
I
smart to hang on to your like full-time job, but like
Yes.
and some people would say you only need one artist in the family, like you were, because one person has to be stable and one person can be like, a little,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like it's so great to hear that your husband was so supportive and was just
He
like,
was.
yes.
do it.
He was the one that you could say he kind of discovered me because back in 2011 he told me you should do this. And then he reminded me again and I'm like I put it off. And then he said you have to do it. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember that class. I went with Mike DeLay at Real Voice LA. I took that class, introductory voiceover acting class with
Yeah.
Valentina Latina that was dubbing, and I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And I could not stop. From there, I just couldn't stop. I was like, oh my gosh, and how would animation work? Because that was it. Also, figuring out what niche is the strategic one to start
Yeah.
with, right? Everybody
Yeah.
wants to do animation, but it's the hardest one to get into.
Yeah.
Which was
Yeah.
the most profitable one, right? Like the corporate videos and the e-learning stuff is the one that pays the bills. So,
Yeah, yeah, right. That's
where
what
do you
you
get that kind of
eat.
work? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
And
But
it's
I,
so
I
in
also love your perspective because
yeah.
I viewed this as a business, and
Yeah.
a lot of us, it's like, oh, we're just creatives and the business side kind of scares us a bit,
True.
So coming at it with that perspective, I think is refreshing.
Yeah,
Hear me
I think
out.
so.
I tell this sometimes. So remember that degree that I got in product design?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so I saw it as a product. I said, okay, when you have I'm not gonna preach, but I don't even have any. Oh yes, I do.
Preach, preach.
Here we
We're
go. Wait, I'm
listening.
gonna put an example with a pen. So, for example, if you have this pen that is just, I don't know, 99 cents at Target, but then you could have the fancy pen that is like ink or whatever. This is like $20, right? Okay. Each one was designed for a different target, for a different objective. So, even though it's the same, it basically is a pen, it does the same thing, it has a target and an audience. So, I was thinking at voiceover, that's how I came in at it. I'm like, okay, so where do
Yeah.
I fit? I'm bilingual, I could do the Spanish thing. What can I do that I could get like the fastest ROI in this? And I started with radio commercials doing automotive. That's where I got
Really?
in. Yes, I
Wow.
started doing radio in Spanish for automotive clients. And then that brought me, I'm like, oh, wait, video production companies. Video production companies, they sometimes have to localize it into English or Spanish. And that was people I was looking, it wasn't like glamorous work, but I'm like, I was connecting with these people on LinkedIn. Everybody was on LinkedIn on COVID. Well, connecting with these people on LinkedIn, I found like directories and then find where they were. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to start cold emailing to them. And then the Yellow Pages was my best friend. So I was like, okay, in the area, who is was what?
Wow.
So that's how I started, right? And I was able to turn the income that I was doing for my project management. That was my first goal. I'm like, I got to cut even. I have to do monthly what I used to do in United Healthcare.
Right.
And I was able to get it done like in 4 months. But it was a
Wow.
lot of hours. Like it was a lot of late nights. And like, okay, I put in, I call it, now we're not going to say how I called it, but a lot of hours sitting down doing the work, but it was a lot. And sometimes some people like think, "Oh, it's easy," but it's not. Like you got
Mm-mm.
to put in the work. You got to seed like a farmer. Got to put in
Mm.
the seeds and then you'll see your garden bloom, but it takes a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many voice actors we get caught up in like like you said, the glamorous side of
Yes.
it, and they think it's
Yeah.
just going to happen. And there are some people we know
Of course.
firsthand some people that, that did really, really well, really, really
Yeah.
quickly, very talented. But the majority, I think it takes time, consistency, persistency, and you have to put the money and the time into it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? However that fits for your budget and your lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we all have a different story to that, but I mean, it doesn't just happen overnight, and it can, but it not for
It
the
takes
regular.
a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One thing, and this is kind of a question I have, just
Yeah.
your situation, right? Even though it was fast, it still wasn't overnight, right? 4 months is a lot of
Yeah.
time to be grinding. My question is, what were you doing in that time to protect your, if you were able to at all, protect your capacity to function,
Yeah,
right?
that's a good question.
So
Good question.
I've always been like a little, have you ever seen the Energizer little bunny?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's me. So I think I've come from a small little town that had the odds against. Like, what were the odds first to get it to the United States?
Yeah.
Almost nothing.
Mhm.
What were the odds to be able to make it in LA? Almost nothing. So when you give me the odds are really not in your favor, but I'm never going to say a no. I'm not going to take a no for it. I'm going to prove you wrong.
Mm.
So I'm going to go back to my mom and my parents, even though they were so supportive and they've always like supported me, kind of doubted me because even with that industrial design degree, they didn't understand actually what I actually did.
Hmm.
So, you know, when you have those parents that kind of don't understand the creative, like they don't really know what you do. So
Yeah.
same case
Yeah.
with with my husband and me. I'm like, I'm not gonna take a no for it. So I'm just gonna prove my family and myself that I can do it. So I took it to heart and I'm like, because I was already working online, I kind of had I was very strict and I protect my time, not the burnout. So I always
Right.
say time and energy it's like your golden nugget. That's what you protect. Because if you
Hmm.
have the time, you protect your time and you protect your energy, then you can do things. So I used to for example, I try to get a good night's sleep. I tried to handle stress as much as I can, but then I said, I have 45 minutes and a half. I would put a clock and I would say, in these 45 minutes, I have to accomplish this.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't do it. I would try to be hyper focused on doing something that will move me towards that goal in the short amount of time possible. And then when you add it up, that happens fast. The
Hmm.
problem is that when you do work that is not focused, you can fall into the squirrel. I call it the squirrel wheel that you think you're working, but you're not
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
working
Yeah.
towards the goal. You know where I'm coming at?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
Hmm.
Mm.
could be busy, but you're busy in things that are not moving you forward to get to that goal. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 This
Completely.
is a very random question. It's not random, but you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to. I just have been thinking about this because you talk in ways that remind me of myself. Um, do you have ADHD?
I don't know. Maybe I
Okay.
have non-diagnosed, but I think I don't. I
Okay.
never, but I do. I think I have a balance. I don't I know when to stop, you could say. Like, okay, I'm not going to think about work right now. I'm going to be with my family. And
Yeah.
then
You're
I
just
try to be
Mm.
present there.
you're
I
But
more
I
like
do
that.
like
cognizant.
to get things done
Yeah. You're a
because
doer. Yeah.
if you
You're
don't get things done, I don't know why I feel like I'm going to be 40 next year. And
mhm.
I'm like, 40. I've always had it since I was a teen. Like, how do I want to see myself at 40?
Yeah.
And I would like to say, okay, at 40, what did I do? And I don't know why I have this engraved in my mind. My dad it was someone that he always told us stories about. Oh, when I was 30, I did this. And he would tell us about his adventures and that whole bunch of stuff. And I always said, wow, whenever I have kids, I would like to tell them stories about what I could do or what I did or what I accomplished with my husband. So
Hmm.
I'm kind of like doing that little bag of treasures and that like storybook to then tell them,
Yeah.
did you guys know that we like cross country the whole
Yeah.
state to get like and did you know that one time your mom was crazy enough to say that maybe you could do it at voice acting and then if you're thinking on doing something, did you know that maybe you can do it? You see?
Yes.
I'm kind of like collecting these
I
stories
love
for
that.
when the time comes
That's
to
beautiful.
Yeah.
share with them. But maybe I also have ADHD. I don't know.
Well,
Maybe.
you're more cognizant of intentionally talking about focus than
Yeah.
I am used to a lot of people doing. And so I'm like, this is something like, okay, we're talking about squirrels and hyper focus. And I was just like, That and because none of this is bad at all. Um, I was when you were telling the story, I was like, I also am gonna tell you this story, and I'm gonna split off and tell you every single related thing that
Yeah.
that like I have to give you all the context before I
Yeah.
before I tell
I'm
this
moving
part
over
of
to
the
It
the next
story.
one. Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, but
I
it was
think
like
it's
I love
sorry.
this.
Sorry. I was
No.
good.
Also, oh
No, you go, you go.
also I was just like, oh, she's a Ravenclaw. I'm a Ravenclaw.
Oh,
You
Oh,
yes.
that's so funny. I didn't notice that. I was trying to figure out what the flag was. Okay.
I love
So
Harry Potter.
yeah, you have so many like cool little like things behind you.
And stickers and stuff.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think it's really important though, like backtracking to like how Lloyd was saying about like hyper focusing and creating that space. You're like, huh, I've got 45 minutes and a half, and what am I gonna do with this time? Because so many people you like have excuses. They're like, oh, I'm not gonna make it, or no, I'm not gonna do auditions because I had X, Y, and Z happen, or I had, like you took the limited amount of time that you had and you made it work for you to build the bigger goal that you were focused on. You know what I'm saying? And a
Yeah.
lot of people just don't. They're like, "Oh, it's I only have 45 minutes." You know what
That's
I'm
not a lot
saying?
of time. And
It's
you
not a
should
lot
Yeah.
of
manage it.
time and excuses. So,
But that went like hardcore when I became a mom
oh
because
yeah.
you know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean.
Oh
I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
gotta make. This is my brain. I know. I'm so sorry, but it's like the mom brain. It's like
Oh
it's
my
6:30
God.
a.m. I have to wake up, take a shower because or else I won't be able to shower for the rest of
Right.
the day. And then I
Right.
have to go do the lunch, and then we got to do it in 15 minutes. Got to wake up the kid. So I'm
Yeah.
like always like that. It's
Yeah.
horrible. And it's tiring. But then when I don't want to think about it, I'm like I'll just walk away and disconnect because or else it's like maybe that's the answer
That's
of
a
your question, Lloyd.
superpower.
It's a
Yeah.
superpower. Yes.
That is a superpower to be able to just like compartmentalize. That's what you're doing. Yeah, you're like when you're in the booth, you're doing the work, and then when you walk out of the booth, you're like you're done. Like you're moving into mom mode, or you're moving on to dinner, or you're moving into
Yeah.
this. We started the conversation today before you jumped on. Gabby and I were talking about how I was like, I feel lazy for ordering groceries. I just took a full-time job, but I'm also like a full-time voice actor, right? So it's like and a full-time mom and full-time wife, and I'm a full-time everything,
Yeah,
dog
and I was like,
walker,
are you
everything.
really lazy? I don't think you are.
I
I
was
don't,
like,
but
Can moms be lazy?
I
that
don't know.
let's I want to go back to that, and that's part of the mentality.
I know.
I'm like, but why did you think you were lazy?
I have
That
no idea.
for
Yeah.
me, it was you were efficient. Because
Yes.
instead of
Exactly.
spending the time going to the grocery that was going to be an hour, you did it in 15 minutes from your phone. Done. You could do something else. So I try not to judge myself because I
I
used
know.
to do that. And that I think it's something mom guilt.
Yeah.
I struggle with that too sometimes. But then I'm like, wait, I'm also like uh Uber. I'm also cook, full-time chef.
Yes.
I'm also like the one that's taking care of all my family. By the way, I fed them before I came.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
it's
have
like
not.
but it's okay. What I mean is like it has to get done. And
Yeah.
that's the part where I say I'm like, I don't even know, maybe I do have ADHD, but it's the part of the thing, right? It's like you gotta get things done. And if
Yeah.
you get disorganized, then I feel like ah it's either I handle the chaos or the chaos handles me.
I love that.
Yes.
That could be like really type A personality too. Like
Yeah.
very like strategic, like with your time. I love it though. The
That is so
chaos.
cool.
The chaos.
So with all the projects that you've okay, I have a question. With everything that you've accomplished, which one of the projects that you've had to encounter has been the most challenging?
Oh, that's a good one.
Projects, voiceover related or in general?
What?
I mean, not in
Creative.
general because as a mom, we got
Yeah.
stuff thrown at us that we don't know how to handle sometimes, but we get it done. No, in voiceover.
Yeah.
So once upon a time, you know that sometimes we don't get to go in person to some recording studios. I was lucky to go to one. But then that has been the longest session I've had in my life. It was 4 hours in person. And I had the engineer, but then the people that were directing
Right.
kind of didn't know what. Like the person that was directing was also the creative. And it was three people. And the good thing, wait, let's stop. The good thing was that I was able to put my training into work because they directed me every way possible on how to deliver that script. Reminiscent, matter of fact, warm and friendly, conversational, flat, dry, comedic. there was like so much thrown at me, and we were doing two languages. It was the same spot in English and Spanish. And I'm like, okay, I got this. And the breathing part came in handy. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to focus on my training. And just going to share something. I did study with the Kalmanson and Kalmanson with Kathy Kalmanson. I don't know if you know them, but Kathy
Mm-mm.
Kalmanson is amazing. The Kalmanson method has been my life-saving grace ever since I took it. And I'm like, you know what? This is like, I'm going to go back to my roots. And I was focused on delivering what they needed. And I didn't take it personal. I'm like,
Right.
this is where we're at. And I try to put my emotions aside. And I'm like, they picked me for a reason. I don't have to prove anything. I'm here. We just have to get it
Right.
done. So that was the
Mm.
mindset but it was 4 hours, the
Oh
longest
my
session I've been in
God.
my life. And that was they directed me every way possible. Yeah,
Wow.
that was it. That was it. Yeah.
That's a really good point, though, about giving them what they want. I don't need to prove anything. They already chose my voice, set
Yeah.
my emotions to the side. Don't let that monster that creeps up on you, like, yeah, to tell you that like you're not good. Yeah. Wow. I needed to hear that because that, I mean, how many
Yeah,
times does
me
that
too.
freaking happen? Like in
And it
everything.
happens to every one of us. I
Oh
mean,
my gosh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
always. Second guessing, doubting. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
it happens. I mean, but we're like emotional creatures though, right? Because like we're in the creative realm. We're all, we need to it's very difficult. Like one minute you have to tap into your emotions, and then the next minute you have to change gears and you have to be like the business side of things. And it's
Yes.
hard, yeah.
It's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard.
But anyways, that was a good question, Gabby.
That was a great question.
So Gabby also shared with us, speaking of like kind of like ping-ponging off of her question. She
Yeah.
said that you just announced that you have like a pretty cool project that you're working on,
Yes. Do you
and
want to
we
talk about
love
it?
to share like big wins because
Which
um
one? The building doors one?
oh well
That one was really cool. It yeah, go ahead.
that one or well you can share with us all of it
That
if you
one?
want to,
Yeah,
but like the dubbing on
on
Netflix.
Netflix.
Oh yeah.
I love
So
Netflix. We were just
yes.
talking.
Oh, thanks for that one. Um, my first VO job was actually a dubbing gig. And I'm
Wow.
talking about the one I first booked off, and don't judge, I booked it off of Craigslist. Not this one. I'm talking about back in the day, my first job ever.
That's cool.
It was a
Wow.
dubbing one, and it was a cartoon from Portuguese to Spanish. And they were looking for the voice match for there's this comic strip, kind of like Charlie Brown, but in Brazil called Monica and Her Friends. There's actually a YouTube series on these little
Oh,
characters. And they were localizing it into Spanish, and they were looking for a voice print that's very similar in Portuguese. So I'm like, I can do this voice. So I was listening to the Portuguese, and I'm like, okay. And I did it, sent it off, and forgot about it. Off of Craigslist. This is back in 2019. And I'm like, when they called me back, I'm like, oh my gosh. But I don't even have a booth. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. The good thing I had to go in person for that one. But
yeah.
I was so nervous because I didn't even know the beep, 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 and then you get into it. I had
Yeah.
no idea how to do nothing. I was like, I was so nervous. But at that session, I found out that I had a really good skill for dubbing. Like it kind of like an intuition. And I think that it's because, like, it's kind of like when you're speaking both languages, you're listening to one and you could hear the tones, the rhythms, the beats, and everything, and then you just do it. So I just like went with my gut, and I found out that
Wow.
dubbing was like a thing for me. So I've been able to do. I'm so fortunate that I've been able to do like other dubbing projects. The last one that Gabriela is talking about is called Envidiosa.
Yeah.
It was a hit in Argentina, and it looks like in Latin America because the original Spanish version is like hilarious. And I binge watched the first season, and then I got in. Like my agent told me, you know what? We submitted your voice for this, and the director asked for you. I didn't have to audition. They're like, you're giving you a shot for
Wow.
this one. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure.
That's
I didn't even
awesome.
know what character I was playing. And
Ah,
when I get because you don't have a script, you go in there, they show you the scene in English, and then you have like a karaoke band in the bottom,
yep.
and you have to
Yeah.
do the thing. And I'm like, okay, fine. I didn't even know what it was and what not, but it was one episode. It's season 2, episode 10, and that was fun. But yeah, I'm so happy to have been part of that one. I've been having lucky to do on other ones, but yeah, dubbing is. I think that I hope it doesn't die with AI.
You love dubbing. Dubbing is hard. It
I
is a
love it.
hard. I've taken a class to to learn how to dub, and there's acting. There's like you have to like look at the nuances of the other character, and you have to mimic it. I mean, there's so much happening. It's not
And the
just
breathing,
and the yeah,
not only the
it's a
lines.
lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
it's a lot.
lot.
It's a lot.
So that's so cool that you intuitively figured out at a very early stage in your voiceover career that dubbing was something that
Yeah.
was going to be like your genre. I mean, I think we all struggle with still trying to figure out like what is our genre, like what's our going to be our thing, what you think is going to be it in your head isn't necessarily what ends up being the stuff that you book, which is
Yeah,
also
that's so
very
true.
interesting.
That's so true.
Like I always thought like, oh man, I'm gonna do radio imaging and automotive and no. You know, I mean, and do other things, and then yeah.
Yeah. No,
And
but I
it
totally feel exactly the point. And I'm happy you took the dubbing thing because did you know something? There's like an untapped market, and I say this to all my American friends. You guys that speak perfect English, General American English, you have no idea how many videos for international companies they're trying to localize it into English. So if you could do the dubbing thing, again, corporate video stuff,
yeah,
I've had the videos where I have I don't know, Portuguese or the Spanish in Argentinian Spanish, and they want to do the same video with the English script. I dub it like I do it. I do the sync on Adobe Audition and dub it myself. So it's kind of like
that's
that's
cool.
that's a thing, right?
Yeah.
But some other people don't think about it that much. But yeah, just throwing it out there.
And that's amazing that you did a lot of marketing. Like I think I'm always
Yeah.
apprehensive to market. Like I always worry about it. I know that like Lloyd has taken a class on how to market and that was kind of your thing. Like he's really big into marketing, but I just I've stuck to pay to plays and I've been, with agents and
Yeah,
that's kind of like the route that I took, but marketing scares me, but you're inspiring me.
yeah. Have you? Let me tell you a story. Think about this for a minute. If you were on a diet and then the little girl from the Girl Scouts come and sells you cookies, you're not going to buy the cookies, right?
Yeah.
But if you are someone that has a pastry, like if you have a pastry business and you are looking for a provider that sells you the cookies, it's actually a solution for your business.
Yeah.
It's the same thing to think about it us. We provide the voiceover service, but we're not selling it to someone that's on a diet. We're selling our voices to people that actually want to buy it. So
Yeah.
it's not that we're being annoying or something. We're actually helping them. That's the way
Yeah, I like that.
mindset. It's kind of
Yeah.
like we're offering a service and providing a solution to someone that has a need for it. And
Sure,
then you're
sure.
never going to be rejected. I've never had an email saying, Amy, you suck. And we don't want to buy it. Never in my whole career I have
Right.
received that. I've received, at this moment, we might not be reaching out, but I'll keep you in hand.
I
And
love
that's
it.
okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah. I
that's
love that.
okay.
I
Yeah.
think it's the initial step of trying to start to figure out how to even like start the marketing. So that's a whole nother conversation. I did
Yeah.
want to go back to something that you said too about like taking your emotions out of it and just knowing that like you just have to push forward. Go
Yeah.
back
How
to
do you
your
do that?
training. Yeah, I need to know that because like I did, it's so hard because we're emotional creatures. We are
Mhm.
creatives, right? So we have to tap into those emotions. We have to like really connect. And then you have to step back and not take it personal. But in our voice and our
Yeah.
us, we are the product.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's so much rejection all the time, right? So
Yeah.
how?
I
Like
do
what?
this. I think about it this way.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but this is what I do. I'm like, okay, when I'm doing the work, I use my emotions. But if I'm doing, for example, I'm trying to, as you notice, I kind of like talk in metaphors. Okay. So,
I love it.
I
You are
love
my
so
it.
people here.
I talk in metaphors. So, have you ever had that moment where, I don't know, this is what I tell myself. Uh, if I have, if I have to do the laundry, or if I have to do the laundry, I have two options. I could either go to the laundromat or I could do the laundry in my home situation. I depend on on the washing machine to do its thing because I paid for it, I paid my electrical bill, I put water on it, you got to work.
Mm.
You see what I mean? So I go into that mode that I need to be a team member. Did I say that I played basketball for a while? Yes,
Yeah.
with a team.
No.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yeah.
being in a team is like
Yeah.
I can't let my team down. Like I need to get this done for the sake of me and for the sake of other people. So when I'm in a session, The engineer is counting on me. The casting director is counting on me, who casted me for that role. The people that are in the room also want the best that I can do, even the director. They want the best out of me to get the best product. And even the client wants my
Right.
best performance to get it done. So I get the focus off of me and I think about the other people
Yeah.
and I think about the rest of the team. And I'm like, it's not just about me. So I
Mm.
take a breath and I'm like, and I go at it. I'm like, well, let's get it done and let's
Yeah.
just do it. So it's kind of like when I'm depending on my washing machine to work, or or I have to go to the laundromat to do the wash, but I still have to get the wash done. These clients need the voiceover done. They could have it in, I want to be the talent that gets it done in 5 minutes or gets it done in 10, and they're happy. And if I do a good job, they're going to ask me to get back into the booth again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a shot. So I'm like, I just focus and let's get it done.
I love it.
I hope I answered the question
That
though.
totally answered
Yeah,
the
that
question.
totally
And that was
yeah.
like, I mean, definitely.
That's
Like,
amazing.
that
Yeah.
I
is-
take it off myself and think of other people because it's a team
That's-
effort at the end of the day.
It is.
that is such a
Refreshing perspective.
yes, and something
Yeah.
that I haven't really heard. I mean, like that's like amazing because it isn't about us. It's about everything else outside of
Yeah.
us, and we're
I
just
want to
here.
make the casting director look good.
Yeah.
I want to make the engineer also, when we're working together, I
Mhm.
even tell him, can you play me back this part? And then I'll give you ABC. I sometimes don't even wait for them to tell me. I'm like, I know what you want. You want this to fit? Play me this and I'll give you the timing. Okay. I just work as a team with him, right? With the engineer,
Yeah.
wherever I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just try to, again, solve or be of help. That's the
Yeah.
be of help
Be of
to the
help.
people
Yeah.
that are there with me.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That,
go ahead, like.
yeah, no, it's just that because I do a lot of improv.
Mm.
And, one of the biggest things people always say is the best improvisers are good at making other people look good,
Mm-hmm. I like
and you're
that
like,
too.
oh my gosh, they're so great at what they're doing.
Mm.
But you're not focused on them. You're focused on the person that they made look good. So if a
Mhm.
casting director casts you and you blow it out of the park, somebody's like, oh man, that casting director did a really good job picking that
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's also a very, very good point. Yeah, absolutely. So I have to ask you, because are you a director and an actor? And do you work with your husband? Like, do you guys work on animation projects now that you're a
So,
voice actor?
that's
That was like
okay.
3 questions in
No,
one.
that's okay. Directing, I've been so honored to have had the shot to direct. Sometimes people at Edge Studio ask me in to direct, or like have other studios that, hey, Amy, we need help with the Spanish talent. Amy, we need help in the dubbing. I'm like, okay. And there's people I've worked with in the past, and then I got a good relationship with them because I forgot to say, well, no, you guys know this is a relationship business.
Yes.
Like if you have a good relationship with the people you work with, they would want to work with you because they know you, right? And if you're
Yeah.
responsible and you do things and you're dependable,
Mm-hmm.
like they can depend on you, they're going to call you in. So I have had the chance to direct commercials, video games, and some dubbing stuff.
Cool.
Now, with my husband, so this has been a long shot because when you have a dream in the bottom of your heart that you know that it's going to come at some point, but it's in the works.
Yes.
Um, he works at Nickelodeon. Like he
Okay.
has a full-time
wow.
job doing that.
Yeah.
But I can't work with him in that company.
Yeah.
But however, he's been developing some stuff that I can't talk about right now, but he's been developing and now he's pitching some stuff and has also made friends that has made team efforts. So
Oh,
we're working on it. On being able, the dream would be to produce and
yeah.
create our own content and be able
Yeah.
to distribute it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I love to be part of that
Yeah.
and also help other voice actors at that,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's in the works. It's I don't know how many years it's going to take because this industry right now, animation is
Yeah.
rough right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just praying and I got faith on it that
That's good.
we haven't been all over the place doing this just for nothing, so we might as well, God
Yeah.
can't leave me hanging. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's like full circle though, right? You
Yeah.
guys like
Yes.
started
Yes.
on a movie.
Together.
Yeah, like on a
And
movie
he
set.
got you started into this
Yeah.
career and
Yes.
Yeah.
hopefully It'll
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I'm praying. So God
continue.
cannot leave me hanging
Yeah.
on it. So that's where my faith is. I'm like I believe it's gonna happen at some point, but we're working towards it.
Right.
But it's gonna get there someday, you know?
Yeah. So animation is also kind of like your bread and butter too, or
No,
no, yeah, I was gonna
no,
say.
no.
It's your love and your passion.
It is my love and my passion. Of course, I would love to do it, but it's the hardest one to get
Yeah.
casted because it's
Mm.
so expensive to do animation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of like the casting directors have to get to know you. You have to be, again, a good team member
Yeah.
when you're in the booth doing animation to be able for the whole crew to trust you to bring to
Right.
life an animated character that costs millions of dollars to do per episode. You know
Right.
what I mean? So,
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
so of course, no, I'm not there yet, but at some point I hope so. But I feel I never consider myself as an actor. Again, I didn't come from the acting path, even though I am because I do this.
Yeah.
But I always have it in my brain that, okay, it will get there someday. Meanwhile, let's go and do the stuff that is a good return on investment.
Yes.
What I mean?
Yeah.
I
Yes.
kind of like I try to focus on those. I'm still training for that. I'm training my accents because I want to get the British thing on there. I
Yeah.
want to do that. Spanish accents but
Yeah.
I know that that's like my strength, the
Right.
accents and languages. I
Okay.
have a facility for it, but yeah, it's a long shot still.
So I think that like I
Wow.
love your marketing where you say like one is what hold on, I have to gotta go back to my notes because I don't want to mess it up. Where you talk about like two worlds in one voice.
Oh yeah.
Like
Hey, thank you.
I just think it's so amazing, that you talk about how you have Latin American Spanish, American English, and accented English, and those are all like three different ways to market yourself. And like that is so like very, very cool because
Oh, thank you.
I think it's very, very cool and it's so smart, right?
Yes.
Because like, they talk about like I think I remember taking class with Gaby and she's like bilingual as well. And they're like, you
Yeah.
can double dip, you can do both English and Spanish. And like, but I think like you've expanded that,
Yeah.
like, and I'm sure that also is a very niche way to be able to like build business and develop
Yeah.
client relationships. I mean, it's very cool.
Well, remember the thing I told you about the products, about the example with the
Yes.
pens?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, why would I sell a 99-cent pen to maybe an executive that loves to sign contracts all day? Like you see what I
Right.
mean? It
Yeah.
won't fit. So and I tell this to every single person that asks me that question, like if you find something the pun of you
The
because
pun
in
of
this
you.
it's like what I'm trying to say is like
I love that.
we're all unique and we're not competition because there's
Yeah.
things that Gabby will book I can't. It's like we're not competition,
Yeah.
but the faster we can tell somebody, this is where I belong, with your marketing, with the colors that you use on your website, with
Yeah.
every single thing before they hit play to listen to your voice, that they know what you're about. Casting directors can know where to put you.
Mm-hmm.
Even people, if you can answer that question for them without them having to do a lot of effort, I found that that's the most easiest way to get the conversation going with the buyers. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Now I need to figure out what's my pun.
Well, from Jocelyn, from what I have seen you, I think you do yoga. I
Yeah.
She
think.
does.
Okay,
I
and
like
you're like all about balance and energy and
I
having
try.
I already see that in you and you didn't even tell me.
Yeah.
And it's if you are attracted to that and if you're liking that like what is it called?
Outdoors stuff.
Sustainability and to have the energies and that whole vibe,
Yeah.
you will resonate with people that have that same vibe. They're going to gravitate to you. And that's
Yeah.
actually going to be people that you want to work with,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. You're right.
Wow.
You're right. I definitely have found like clients, yeah, like in people that are outdoors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any kind of brand or product or, yeah, that's
Travel, I
travel.
believe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 That's true. But it's hard though, because it's
It is.
like you think you're very like solid in like knowing, and
It
it's,
was
I
hard to
love her
get there
perspective.
though.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
was hard to get
Yeah.
there though. I
Yeah.
Yeah,
ask
it
a lot
didn't
of
happen
people.
overnight.
No, but the good thing is to ask your husband, ask your kids, like ask your mom, or ask the people that know you. Like, can you tell, like, if you would have to describe me in 3 words, what would it be? And just listen what
Yeah.
other people say, because we have an idea of who we are, but
Yeah.
then that really is not what
Yeah.
we,
Project.
project to other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then other people have an idea of and it's like, no, but you're really like resilient, baby, or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's like, that was not a word that I had in my
Yeah.
mind.
Like, if you ask my middle son, he will say that I'm a boomer. And I'm like, I am not a boomer. I
Hey, you
am
can
not.
still sell the boomer though.
I could probably sell the boomer. I am maybe a product of a boomer. Come on. I'm not that old yet.
Oh, no, no,
Like,
no.
the other day, this morning, he's like, did you know in this many years, you're a grandma? And I'm like, I don't even bring that up right now. Like, like,
My mom has never, when I had kids, she's like, please teach my little nietos that don't tell them to call me grandma. She doesn't like it. And I'm like, okay, mom, that's okay. Well, you got to come up with it because they're going to call you something. You got to tell them you got to come up with it because I'm not going to do it for you.
what is it?
What?
Tita. So it's
Oh,
abuelita. So
Tita.
my
Abuelita is
tita.
grandma.
Yeah, tita. It's like
Oh,
tita. And are you happy with that, mom?
that's so funny.
Oh,
My
that's so
aunt,
cute.
that is very cute. My aunt was like, don't call me grandma. And I'm like, well, what are they going to call you? And she's like, Gigi. I'm like, okay,
Okay,
all right, all right.
or Nana,
Yeah.
or yeah, but I'm like, well, pick because I'm not gonna have to think about it for
Pick,
you. So pick.
pick.
No.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Oh, wow.
Oh, well, okay. So, so what do you think, like, what is like moving forward, right? Like, because you've won some awards, you've had
Yeah, what
nominations. Like,
is
do you
your
want to
goals
talk about that? Like,
besides the
Of course.
animation?
yeah, animation and doing the project with your husband. Yeah.
My dream would be to be able to consolidate the studio and to be able to create a roster of talent, like to be able to, to be able to have opportunities in that realm,
Yeah.
um, or cast them get agents to cast it for you. I just
Yeah.
want the studio. That's one of the goals. Um, But I also have this in my head. Like my kids are small. I have a 6-year-old and then I have a 1.5-year-old.
Oh, you're
My
busy.
dream and my dream is to be able to create content for that age group. Sometimes I
Mhm.
know that recently there's been a lot of preschool content, but sometimes I'm like that preschool content is very
It's questionable.
empty.
Yeah.
Yes, Gabby is hears me out. So I
Yeah.
don't I understand it should be fun, but I think that there's like a little bit of a loss of ethical morals. I don't know, you guys remember Captain Planet? Like from
Yeah.
back in the day, at least Captain Planet. Have you heard
Yeah.
about that stuff? Anyway,
Yeah.
that's way back in the day. But what I mean is I think that we could use the influence of animation to reinstitute morals and ethical values to kids, not just in the kindergarten, preschool, like brush your teeth. And not only that, I mean, I'm talking about a little bit more. I think
Mm-hmm.
we could do better. I really
Yeah.
believe that we could do better. It's a dream of mine to be able to do preschool content for that, and
Oh, that's
also
cool.
that gap between 7 and 12 where they're not teens yet, but they're
Yeah.
not little kids yet, but they have that like a bridge age,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it gets goofy. Some of the content that it's out there, it's goofy or it's violent or is,
Yeah.
questionable. That's
Oh,
the
yeah.
opportunity that I see for that.
That's
And
Yeah.
cool.
voiceover wise, I mean, I wish I could get my booth in a RV and to be able to travel.
Ugh,
That's my
that
dream.
would be so cool. That would be so
Put it in
fun.
the bucket because I know Gabby's been all over the world.
She's a
I know.
traveler.
Where is
She's a
Gabby? I
traveler.
know. I know. It's like a dream of mine to be able to travel around with my kids during the summers and be able to do this at the same time.
Do your kids do voiceover? My youngest started telling me that he was a voice actor, and I was like, okay, well then let's put your
Yeah.
put your mouth where the money goes. And so he started training, and he's yeah.
Listen, my boy, he's shy. He's
Oh.
shy. He's like, do I really have to do that, mommy? I don't want to do it. Okay, fine.
Oh,
But my 1.5-year-old, she's not even talking yet. But I already see the potential in this little one. Maybe let's see what I got. But yeah, my son didn't like it so much.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Oh, that's
It's
amazing.
a fun thing. Go ahead, Lloyd.
I was gonna say it's never too late. Who knows?
Right?
I'm
It can't.
shy as hell.
And you're
I
here
Look
am.
at
doing it
And you're,
and
yeah,
hustling. Okay,
You know.
I'll
it took
take
him a
it.
while, but he's
You
out
know.
here.
I'm
Yeah.
still working through some stuff. I'm
You're
gonna tell
on
you more.
stage. You're on
Yeah,
stage doing
yeah, yeah,
improv.
Yeah.
Like you're not
absolutely.
shy.
Well, no, I very much am. But I mean, like Amy said, you do stuff. You you get out of your own head and you support the team.
Yes.
You know.
I love that. I was gonna ask, you talked about training. I'm gonna like go back to that too. Like I think that people forget that like just because you got your demo and you get out here in the big wide world of like voice acting that like training is continuous, right? It's like an
I've been doing it
athlete.
ever
You don't stop.
since, and I never stopped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like
me
every single
too.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important, to like keep training and like you said, like connecting with people and creating like your network and go ahead, Gabby.
Sorry, I have a question. So
Yeah.
since you've been training, do you have like favorite teachers that you go to? And when you
Yeah.
were starting out, were you ever doubting if you could go into like a different class because you felt um compromised with the studio you started with, or
Well, that's a
you
good question
you
too.
That's a
started
good
learning with?
question. Gabby, I love your questions. They're
Yeah.
really good. So I'll so for example, when I started, I didn't know what to look out for, right?
Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
I went with it was convenient to go to, for example, Real Voice LA with Mike DeLay. He was close by, it was local, it was in person. And I liked the experience to be able to go there in the booth and live it and do it how it should, right? I took several classes with Mike DeLay, they
Mm.
were like workshops. It wasn't like ongoing. Now, when the whole figuring out and doing like the marketing and where am I going to fit and all that kind of stuff, I kind of like figured it out by myself and I took the production. Okay. Performance wise, I did try out. With the coach that I went because they were the best in that genre.
Mm.
Mhm.
So when I was pursuing video games, I went with a video game coach.
Mm.
When I studied promo, I did with the promo coach.
Mm-hmm.
Then I tried radio imaging, and I am not good at radio imaging at all.
It's
It
hard.
was so hard. I'm like, no, I'm not cut out for this. This is not something that I can do. But then, for example, uh I did like video games. I went with two different coaches. And it
Mm.
wasn't that I was at a studio. They were like personal coaches. But I didn't get into that until I said, I am going to pursue this intentionally and let's see where I'm at. And if I could do it. And then I would cut a demo and then I would market it. But the moment that I was training, I was already doing the marketing ahead of time. Because I
Mm.
found that sometimes people go train, cut the demo, and then they start the marketing and then you're off. It takes like 6 months to get started, and then you have a demo sitting in a shelf for 6 months that you're not selling it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the whatever I would go and coach for or pursue is because I had a marketing plan and a strategy kind of like to
Mm.
back it up. That happened with political as well because I did political last year. The same
Wow.
thing. It was like, okay, I'm gonna get myself into political. It's gonna be political season. So I'm like, I trained, I practiced, cut the demo, and I already had the lead list that I was gonna send it to before I got the demo.
Right.
So
That's
that's kind
good.
of. But
Yeah.
again, it's a business. I never. I'm like, it's a business. So I never felt bad that I had to like stay with that studio. Never, ever. I'm like, it's a business.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
they do commercials maybe, and they
Right.
don't have the person in promo that I need to go with.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's a business at the end of the day.
It's a big
Yeah.
wide world, voiceover. There's
Yeah.
a lot of places out there, and yeah, you just have to find the right people.
One
Go
more
ahead,
question. Have
yeah,
you
that's
ever
okay.
been scammed?
Oh yeah,
Ugh,
Yeah.
like that's like I
yeah,
mean, you're not
yeah.
in the business until you've been
And you have been scammed. But I also, when I have any people, because I've had people, friends, or for example, a daughter of a friend that she wants to start doing voice acting, I go out of my way to help them out and
That's
say, you
nice.
know what? Take this class, train. And did I say train? Train, practice to see if this is something you're cut out to before you get even into
Yeah.
demo. Like
Yeah.
every single person that wants to do, like, I want to get into animation, I want to do
Yeah.
anime. I'm like, wait,
Right.
you should understand the business, learn about the business, and then you come back at me and tell me again if you still have that
Yeah.
decision done, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I go out of my way and I try to talk to people that are newcomers and
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
send them to reputable sources so
Yeah.
they don't get scammed because that happened to me and I don't want that to happen to anybody
Yeah.
else.
That's really nice of you to
That's
do.
really, yeah.
I remember I work part-time at a resort and one of the ladies is like, "Oh, you do voiceover?" She's like, "Oh, I've always been told that I should do voiceover because I read books." And I'm like, it's a lot. There's a lot more to it than I even first knew, and I come from radio and I was already doing voiceover for
Yeah.
free. And I didn't even know it, but that's like whatever. And
Yeah.
so I was like, you should go to this studio or you should look into this class, and it kind of gives you like an overall general sense of like what the industry is all about and see if you really actually do like it because there's a lot of work that goes into it. We are like seriously coming. I don't want to take up your whole
Don't worry
evening.
about it, but I love, can I just say one thing for the
Yes,
next time you have
please.
that person? This is a metaphor, but the next time you have someone that says, "Oh, everybody's told me I have a great voice,"
Yeah.
I go back and say, "Have you ever heard of someone that wants to be a professional soccer player and comes to me and says, 'I can kick the ball really hard.'" So, and you want to be a professional
Oh
soccer
yeah,
player,
that's
and
funny.
it's the same thing that you saying you have a great voice, but can you play with the ball? Can you pass the ball? Can you,
Right.
it's the
Right.
same thing with voiceover. If you tell me you have a great voice, but can you do something with that voice?
Right.
I always give that metaphor.
Right. That's a good
Yeah.
one.
That
That's
is
a
a good
really
one.
good one, right?
Yeah.
Because like a lot goes into the skills into being a soccer player. Like you have
Yeah.
to practice and you have to train and
Be a team.
be a team and
Be
you
a
have to
team.
learn. You have to learn, you have to keep learning. Okay, so here's why we wind down. Here's the fun question, roundtable question. And this one's like actually a really fun one, but I think that you guys all would be a little bit too young in the 90s. But so I think you guys are much younger than me, but whatever. What did the 90s smell like to you?
Um, okay.
You guys are
Wait,
probably like two.
wait. Okay, wait. Remember I'm from Mexico, right? So it's different.
Oh,
So
that's true.
but
Yeah.
it would be, I
The
remember
jungle?
those, no, it would be, there was a ay, los vagabundos. There was a little lollipop that had like chili, that you would put the lollipop in the chili, la rocaleta. You remember those candy, Gabby? Gabby froze.
She,
Oh,
But
sorry.
she
No,
was
I
just
didn't.
like,
I didn't grow up in Mexico.
she
oh,
grew
I'm
up in the
sorry. Okay,
United
what? Okay.
States.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. Okay, sorry. Okay,
Sorry.
look.
She
Okay,
does live in Mexico.
we had a lot of candy that had always there's chili in the middle of it. Like it was
Spicy?
like
Yeah.
sweet on this side and everything is spicy. But it would smell like that. But if I would have to say the American part of it, it would be like what's called lip smackers?
Oh yeah,
Oh
like lip
yeah,
That would be
balm,
smackers.
lip
lip
Yeah.
smack.
smackers or that oily thing that you would wear like a lip gloss
Carmex?
no,
Carmex?
The
that's
oily ones.
the oily one that came in cherry
Yeah.
flavor, orange flavor, blueberry, that kind of stuff.
That's
That would
so
be,
funny.
and the chili.
Oh my
I,
God, that's
I
hilarious.
I I would say the smelly stickers and the
Oh
Oh
margarine
yes,
yeah, yeah.
Sanrio
and
and
Capri Sun.
Oh yeah,
yes.
for sure. I am way older than you guys. Okay, go ahead.
I would say my mom's spaghetti and my grandma's meatloaf.
Oh,
Oh,
Lloyd.
What?
boy.
That's so
Oh
sweet.
my God. Okay,
Oh
mine.
my.
That's so cute.
Oh,
I can't even go
I mean,
after that.
you're talking to
I
a
can't
group of
even.
moms.
I can't even
I
go
want my
after
son
that.
to
Excuse me.
remember my cooking.
Excuse me for being
I,
sentimental. That's
I,
just what I am.
I do. I love your mom. Lloyd's mom's awesome.
Yeah.
And we met her, so we actually met her in
You would
person.
love her, Amy.
Yeah, she's great. So
Yeah.
my 90s smelled like Bath and Body Works, vanilla amber lotion, because like that was my thing. Like everything was vanilla.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was
I'm
probably
still stuck in that. I'm still stuck in that. I like the Bath and Body Works warm vanilla spray.
yes.
Oh
I
yeah.
still like it. Okay, see?
So okay, so I'm not too far off. But anyway, so thank you so much for coming on. And we have
You
one final question that Lloyd always makes fun of us for, but
Oh
we're going
my. Okay.
because
Okay.
we
We
already
know.
know the
Okay.
answer.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. We
Lloyd, would
do.
you like
So,
to?
Amy.
Oh, who's gonna answer? Who's
Well,
gonna ask
go
it?
ahead, Lloyd.
Yeah.
out of all the things you have done in your life, what are you the most proud of?
Um, to have had the opportunity to actually just do this job
Yeah.
Just have the opportunity to be able to do it legally with a business incorporated and to be able to do it full time. I'm not kidding. It's like just to have the opportunity to do it because I know that it could be hard to get a
Yeah.
full time to do it full time and to be able to just do it. I could just say to be able to just do it full time. That would be
That's
it.
awesome. That's different.
I
That's
love
different. I
that.
love
I
it.
love it too.
And the funny thing is, when I say what it normally is, she's probably gonna be like, "Oh yeah,
Well, we already know that. That's a given,
Yeah,
especially
right.
as moms. We know it's a given.
yeah."
Most of our guests always respond their kids.
If they're parents,
Um,
it's their
but
kids. But
when
like,
yeah, we ask usually in like the voiceover, like
yeah,
career wise.
we do.
Well, no, normally I say whatever you've done in your life,
Yeah.
and yeah,
No, I think it is because
Full
this has
time.
allowed me to do the other stuff. Like
Yeah.
the
Yes.
Yeah.
foundation. If it wasn't for this, I wouldn't be able to spend time with my kid or just not work a day and go
Right.
if he's
Yeah.
sick or, it's like if I wouldn't be able to do it, I can't sustain, I can't
Yeah.
to do the other stuff.
Yeah. Plus
That's
you would
That's so
still be
important.
depressed and not knowing what to do with your life.
Sad.
With
I
Yeah.
had a crisis. I told
yeah.
you one crisis, but I had the other
hey,
one.
I
But
get
it's like
that.
you get those crises right in the middle of it.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, just to find what you're good at. I don't know how to say.
And to show your children that like you can do it. You can be both a mom and have a career and you've made it work for you and your family and you're
Yeah.
thriving, and you're doing well and like it's like that's so important. I didn't figure that out until like like later. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you can always reinvent yourself. It's never too late. Like Lloyd has said, it's never too late. But like, I mean, you did it earlier on with your kids, and so I think that's so cool. Yeah. And you're
Yeah.
right. It gives you an opportunity to be mom and do the things you need to do with your kids. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, Gabby, do you want to ask like the final question? Like, you want
I
to?
love these questions, by the way, guys. These are cool.
Well, I
Like
thought
to
that was the
share all the, do you want to share
um
all your contact information?
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you share all your contact information, like where people can find you? Side question, do you give any like classes? Do you work one-on-one? Do you
Oh, yeah.
coach?
Oh, that's a great question. So I am part of the Kalmansons as a professor. I went,
Kalmansons.
did the thing, and then I'm at the Kalmanson and Kalmansons. So I do coach Foundations 1 for people that are non-actors. Basically, we're just starting off. I love that
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, I teach with the Kalmanson. But you can find me everywhere as Amy Selma, SELMA VO. That's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's X now. Uh, yeah, and then on my website, Amy Selma, www.amyselma.com. Yeah,
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you
It
so
was such
much.
an honor to have you.
Yeah.
Amy, I thank you so much for your refreshing perspective because you
Yes.
you just gave us so many tips and tricks and just a different point of view that
Yeah.
I think, well, I personally I needed to hear.
Me too.
oh,
And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are in the same boat or just have so much like stuff going on in their head that
Chaos.
haven't
Yeah.
stopped to really think about all that you said. And hopefully listening to you will help them realize like, okay, I can take this route.
Yeah.
yeah,
Be
yeah.
re-inspired maybe,
Oh,
like
thank
Yes.
you.
re-inspire.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I really
Thank
appreciate
you
you
so
coming
My
much.
on.
pleasure. And thank you guys because you also inspired me that what you're doing right
Oh,
now. It
thank
is because
you.
Oh,
it's like,
thank you.
putting the voice out there and just sharing with others or helping all your
Yeah.
audience. It's just something that you do out of love. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah.
And we love